Hey, all right, here we are talking again. I'm looking at Quatre Bra, the Clash of Arms game, I guess, and I'm trying to think. I'm trying to express how I should say this. So let's just do it this way. When you pick up the rules, and I'm using the Mary Louise rules, right? So I know there's multiple types of rules in different systems, and there are also rules that other folks have sort of adapted and changed and made their own and things like that. And get all that, and that's awesome. There's lots of flexibility depending on who you are and how complex you want your game. All of the rules, though, are fairly robust and pretty detailed sets of rules for Napoleonics at the scale. And La Bataille is, it's known for its detail and it's known for its complexity. So I'm okay with that. And in fact, most of the stuff, I imagine if you get a number of repetitions going, it would be pretty straightforward. Once you got used to it, if you're going to assault or melee, depending on which rules you're using and what and how and where those two words are used on the charts and in the rules. If you're going to do that action, conduct that action where two forces engage in the same hex or adjacent to each other, but that one ends up taking the other's hex, then the process is pretty straightforward. You advance up, you make a roll to see if you're going to stand. You get defensive fire. You may have opportunity fire before that. You get defensive fire, then offensive fire, and then you tally up your melee points and look at the multipliers and divisors and Bob's your uncle, and off you go. You might get some things that move you up and down the results column, and that's about it. And it's an odds-based thing, so it's pretty straightforward and it's pretty cool. All the information is on the back of the counter, which is kind of a pest. Got to flip that sucker over. But once you get used to it, you can see, hey, you know that the first value is the fire value, and the second value is the what does it call it in this set of rules here? The melee value, right? And here's where, and so I think if you got into that and started doing a number of different repetitions and revolutions, it would all become relatively second nature and it wouldn't be a problem. Now, right now, as I'm playing this, I think I've done 5 or 6 turns. We're getting to that point where it's sort of starting to make sense, but I'm literally trying to follow the rules and look for exclusions and differences and also opportunities to kind of deal with the tactical situation and nuance that might come out of the game. So, for instance, if I was advancing adjacent to someone, do I want to convert from column to line? And do I have enough movement points to do that? And what does that opportunity fire look like? So I'm experimenting with that and saying, okay, well, I'm going to attack with 1 unit in column and 1 unit in line. And we're going to go through that exercise of undergoing the opportunity fire. And then what result did that have? And then let's switch that around and see if both units attacked in column. What does that do? So I'm really just trying to mess around with the system and trying to get a feel for the tactical aspects of it as well, that you get the choices you might get to make, right? When you go in to engage with people, and do you put your backside to another unit that's 2 or 3 hexes away that's in square formation? I don't know. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, should I cover it with some cavalry? So yeah, we're looking at all those types of things, right? So it's kind of interesting exercise, and it's not really a playthrough of the game per se. I'm just exploring the rule mechanics to see how they work. And so at this level with 20-minute turns and I think 115 meter hexes or 100 meters side to side, it's pretty interesting. And the artwork on the map is beautiful, and the counters are absolutely very evocative of the uniforms. So that has a lot going for it, and I can see a lot of narrative being generated in my head. Although it is the clean, pristine narrative, right? It's all the shiny uniforms, and everyone's polished and done up to a T. It's not, for instance, like the Battle of Waterloo, where I'm imagining the dudes slept on the ground in their greatcoats and they were sodden and wet and hungry. And I was actually on the Waterloo battlefield in equivalent sort of weather that the battle was fought under, and could see the puddling of the water and felt the harsh wind and all that sort of stuff. So there's a sense for Napoleonics that everything is always so pristine and clean and always so perfect. And this game sort of evokes that a little bit more than miniatures guys that lose their gourd over having all the right uniforms and no mud. There's no mud splattered on them or anything like that. So, but it brings me to a point about the rules, and you kind of oddly, you may say, but there's a subtle. It's a subtle arrogance in the rules, or presumptiveness in the rules, that you will know all the different generals and their capabilities, and you will know all of the formations and where they belong and who belongs to what and who was cross-attached and who wasn't, and these guys goes with those guys when you're trying to set it up. I just don't want my phone to fall out of the frame. There's all the stuff that's got to go onto the map yet, right? And that's okay. Take pride in all that and really being into it. If you're going to play a super detailed game, you probably want to really be into it. But I tell you what, though, and I'm not sure if it's me or if I don't understand the rules correctly yet, but there's this wording here. So just listen to this wording, and we'll talk. The rule 15 is called assault and melee. All right. During assault, and there's a phase for it, right? During assault, players determine the willingness of their units to close with the enemy, the assault procedure. During the melee, players resolve the close combat, the melee segment. Only infantry may assault, cavalry units charge instead. Yeah, got it. Okay. Which occurs and is resolved in the maneuver segment. Artillery, yada, yada, yada. More often, so anyway, more often than not, a unit will fail its morale check and be pushed off its ground, or if it stands in the face of an enemy assault, that assault devolves into an inconclusive firefight. There's this, and maybe this is where I'm still coming to grips with the rules, but some of these charts, the rules interchangeably seem to be using the word assault and melee. And so I'm constantly sort of going backwards and forwards over that in the rules and on the charts. And the same thing happens with combat results as well. They call a DR, the DR result, defender routes, makes perfect sense to me. But the information counter is the plus grand désordre, yeah? Okay, which is abbreviated to PGD, which is the result that you get when you get a DR. It's a PGD. And in the combat results table, it says a DR is the defender routes. So you go look up routing, and there's just multiple terms for the same freaking word to be. So I've got to be thinking, am I talking about a route or talking about a PGD? Oh no, I'm talking about the same thing. Am I talking about a melee or talking about assault? Or I'm talking about the same thing. When he says melee in the rule, does he mean melee or does he mean assault? Oh, he means the same thing. And it's just scattered all through the rules, these little things like this that just add another layer of stopping and thinking, oh, okay, he means assault, or okay, he means melee. Now I may be completely wrong here, and happy to be wrong. Where is the sequence play? Just double check this here. Yeah, so the assault melee segment, Why isn't it just the assault segment? I don't know. I understand that there's different portions or different segments inside that phase, but wouldn't it just be the assault phase? And then you determine whether you make a morale check, and then you determine whether you're going to stand, and then there's some shooty bits, and then there's some other bits, right? So why aren't we just doing that? And then we resolve the melee, and then we're done. It's all a melee or a charge. It's not an assault. Oh, look at whatever. Anyway, it's just it's conceited is what it is. It feels conceited. I think that's the word I've been struggling to find. As I'm going through all this and I'm trying to write this up, I was trying to take some pictures, write it up, explain the assaults, explain the fire combat and all that sort of fun stuff, and take my detailed notes here. And as I'm looking at them, writing them up, I'm going, well, I said assault here. Did I mean assault, or is that a melee? Oh, wait, that goes before this. That does be... So I may not publish that. I don't know if it's even worth having a look at, because it's a tiny little microcosm of the battle, and we're so early in the game here. We can see here that I had the 7th Militia. Where were we? Here, and they were driven off. So I had a unit come in line from here and in column from here, and they have both advanced into the hex. I believe they have to. I'm not sure if both or just one. And I'm also not sure what happens to the formations. Can the formation stay? Can we have the guys in column at the back and these guys stay in line, or vice versa? I don't know. I just dropped them both into column just for the sake of it for the time being. And then the dude, that's the dude's retreat. At the route, I think you have to move 9 hexes, or a minimum of 9, or 1.5 times your movement, whatever that is. So it was 6, so 9 hexes. So they retreated back, and they took a couple of step losses from, they were fired on by the artillery first here. Cavalry attacked it, began a charge, then called off the charge and did a recall and just sat there. But as they were advancing, of course, these guys that were here decided to jump into square. And I did this all for a reason. Like, it may not have been the right tactic to do, but I wanted to see how the sequencing of things would happen. So then they were going to, conduct a charge, but they didn't. And then these guys said, "Oh, well, let's get some shooty bits on there," but they've got to wait their opportunity for that, because that comes in the fire combat segment. So these guys advanced up to have their melee, and actually I think I bumped this when I was rearranging stuff. I'm not even sure. He may not have had a line of sight there, because he's got a unit on this side here. Anyway, he would have shot into here and conducted his fire. So, or maybe it was an opportunity fire. I don't know. One of the two. Anyway, we did that fire there. Then these guys did their assault, and that's kind of it. That's all we've done, right? Really, we tried doing a couple of assaults here with this cavalry, and that was really bad. They bounced off and were disordered last turn. So, anyway, I thought I'd just share a little bit of that and see what. I'm still trying to get a feel for it, see if I like it enough to buy some more modules. This whole map is, the scale's wrong, so it's supposed to be 30 or 40% bigger. It probably should have been 2-map game, which means it sort of compresses everything for the Allies and makes it a lot easier for them to hold their position. So as a exercise in historical exploration, it is pretty useless from that perspective. And there's trails through here in the woods that are not supposed to be there, and so there's all sorts of, unfortunately, problems with it. Apparently Barber made another map, and you can go buy it for some other game system or something like that. So I guess if you want to do that, you can. Not. So all right, there you go. I'm going to keep plugging away with this. We'll see, because I love Napoleonics, right? I love the look and the feel of it. I love the era. Enjoy the tactics. I think the bravery is astounding for the era and the type of conflict that's going on here and the capabilities of the weapons. There's a certain level of gallantry and heroic nature of the fighting for the actual boots on the ground, right, and the cavalry and stuff like that. So it's a pretty interesting topic. Yet to find a detailed system at this sort of scale that really nails it and gets it right. We can talk about some of the other ones later on, but I was hoping this, and unfortunately this is the wrong scale map, so it's not going to give me historical playthrough necessarily, which I was kind of curious about, because I have another Quatre Bra game that also has its issues. But nevertheless, it is worth exploring a little bit further, and then we'll see if that prompts me to want to dig in a little bit more with this game system. All right, later.